My wife's already mad at me. Because today was like a scheduled day off that I was never really going to take off. And then I ended up coming back from Owen Sound today. So I only got back at like 2. And then I was working at the office till 5. And then she was, are you coming home? I'm like, yeah, I'm just working on something. Well, when? I don't know. Do you want me to lie to you and give you time? Or do you want me to just say I'll be home as soon as I can? And then anyway, she just kept standing there. So I finally got fucking mad and I just shut everything down. I'm like, there, are you fucking happy? And I walked out. I tend to not react well to certain things.
I can tell.
I can go a little 0 to 50 real quick sometimes.
Yeah. And it's not even like big things either.
No, I was just pissed off because I was just trying to work on something. It's like, I'm just trying to work on something. Well, it's your day off.
You could easily work on it tomorrow and go home and spend time with your wife. The company's not going to burn down because you didn't finish whatever you're working on.
I'm going on holidays soon. I'm trying to get everything finished up before I go on holidays. The worst before holidays. So I'm not one of those people just leave stuff half done and go, oh, well, I'm on holidays. Trying to wrap up all the stuff that you got on the go before you go. You don't want to leave anybody in a bad spot.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, Towman G, and as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. Plane Guy?
What is going on, G? What is going on?
I think your microphone caught a reflection because it got all your attention there for a second. You're like, ooh, shiny.
No, my cord was running weird for my earbuds or my headphones or whatever you want to call them. And it was distracting me right as you were doing the wonderful intro.
Which then distracted me because I thought something was wrong.
No, everything was good. I can still hear you. My cord was wrapped up and I wanted to untangle it. So welcome to another episode of the Towing Life Podcast. As G said, episode 107.
Yeah.
Coming out sometime in the middle of September. It's an exciting episode for me. And the reason I say that is one, at time of release, which might have been earlier than I thought.
Comes out on the 12th.
No, I can take this opportunity to wish my wife a happy birthday. We will actually I'm on holidays at this time.
Yep.
On airing of this, I'll be a week or half a week into my week and a half holiday.
Yeah, because in a couple of days, we're going to be at the tow show.
We are going to be, it's a great time to mention, at the PTAO, Provincial Towing Association of Ontario, 25th anniversary tow show going on September 15th and 16th in Kitchener, Ontario at Bingham's Resort and Camping. I think that's what it's called. It's called Bingham's in Kitchener. You find it. It's not that hard. You can hit Google. We will be there doing live shows. We will be there asking questions, talking down, sitting to people. You know what I mean. Walking around, getting some good footage, photos of some nice trucks, answering all the questions you may or may not have. So we will be at the show. Thank you for the PTAO for inviting us once again this year. We cannot wait to get out there. We will have these shirts for those listening on the audio side that don't see some new Towing Life shirts. We'll have some of them at the show, so be sure to stop by the booth. We'll have them for sale. They are at present moment tow show exclusive, as Towman G said. We're seeing if we can get a production to get those out to you wonderful listeners, depending on where you're coming from. I know the American side makes it a little tougher. So until then, you can continue to head over to our regular online merchandise store, towinglife.ca/shop. It's also a good time to mention the recovery of the month that I just hid Towman G's ugly mug with. Hey. It is a great time to get in on it. Don't forget, contest ends in 2 weeks' time, September 30th or 31st, however many days there is in September. The recovery of the month contest will end, and you will no longer be able to enter. you can win a $50 Amazon gift card. It's easy. Head over to the towinglife.ca/recovery, upload a couple photos and a little story of a wreck that you did, and we will be sure to pick some of the best ones that we see for a spot in our 2024 calendar that will go on sale at the end of 2023. It is a great time to go to your boss, go to your coworkers and go, hey, look at this. We ended up in a calendar, right? For this cool job that we did. It doesn't matter how big, it doesn't matter how small the job is. Some of our wildest ones, I remember a story from Jonah Robb back when, with his twin line recovery just down off of a back road that was slick and smooth, right? It doesn't have to be 2 rotators and a crane and 75 years worth of experience. It can be something as simple as someone thinking outside the box and getting a job done, or something you're proud of. So
obviously, if you're able to take a badass photo of it as well, it goes a long way.
100%. Who doesn't like to brag about jobs they've done? This is a great opportunity to do so. So head over to towinglife.ca/recovery, enter for your recovery of the month. And as usual, if you want to reach out to us, your questions, comments, and concerns are always welcome on the show. You can visit us at the Towing Life Podcast on Facebook, www.towinglife.ca, or you can email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com. So be sure to send those recoveries in. Time is coming close. If you haven't got them in yet, hurry up. And if you haven't done a good recovery in a while, you better start cutting people off. That's all I'm going to say. I don't encourage violence, but I do encourage wrecking people for the sake of a good recovery.
Our intro video, I commissioned that as an advertisement for a previous company that I worked for. And I was like, well, I want to do some winching part. It's like, well, I guess I'll just drive my car into the ditch, which wasn't really a ditch, but it was no longer on the road. And I had summer tires on the car at the time. So where it was stuck because it wasn't backing out of where it was. So you could do that if you really wanted to, but you got to make it look believable.
G has tried submitting that recovery for recovery of the month, and unfortunately we had to reject it because of favoritism on the voting committee.
Yeah. Any recovery I've done isn't eligible for the recovery of the month, unfortunately.
He hasn't done that many, don't worry, guys. I'm sitting here coming in week after week with stories about getting boats out, doing planes. Where's your recovery stories? Where's your fun stories? I know it's been a little while. We won't get into the whole gist, but come on, you got to get down here where the good times happen. Nothing good happens west of Kingston.
I don't know. I've done quite a few snatch block off of trees and having to go across roads and lifting a car up with one line and then finding a way to snatch block off of something behind the vehicle to pull it back onto solid ground. The things that you really got to think outside of the box for a single truck, duty stuff, and pulling out a couple of RVs here and there and just some of the heavier stuff. But I just don't get any of the massive wrecks like you do because the company I'm with just isn't really equipped to do that kind of stuff the same.
That's fair, and that's understandable. And you know what? It's hard to sometimes remember to take a photo.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things is to remember.
I'm the one who always brags for how quickly I get the vehicle out. I always say to them, just as fast as you go in, it's just as fast as I'll get you out. And then just, okay, see you later. You're clear to go. And then I'll just clean up, wind my line back in and throw my chains back in the box. And
that was such a corny saying, but I expect.
Yeah, but I say it every time to most people, and they always get a little chuckle about it. So
I always start with, how you doing today? Bad question. That's my icebreaker for the most part.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for this great service. Yeah, no problem. I'm willing to bet you don't want to see me again, though. No, sir. Okay. We will go our separate ways.
Or they'll say, I'll see you again. It's hopefully not.
I mean, for my business, I hope so. But for your business, I hope not.
Better circumstances next time.
But no, speaking of, it's a great time to, we can segue into a couple of different things that we got on the go here. Talk about being on holidays, right? This is the first time that I've taken since last year's tow show. All right. Holidays come in all shapes and forms. Holidays can create problems for scheduling. Holidays can create problems for guys wanting to book time off on that time or leading up to that time or after that time to extend it out. But one of the questions you had for me earlier is holiday surcharges, right? In Ontario, currently coming up in at the time, it'll already have passed at the time you guys hear this episode, but we have Labor Day coming up. I believe it's in the States as well.
Yeah.
So Labor Day is we have stat holidays. Labor Day is a stat holiday. We just had that one holiday. I hate holidays. Not that I hate holidays, but scheduling sucks. Because you're trying to, like, we've kind of taken on the approach that we don't pay, like, we'll pay the stat day. Everybody has to pay the stat day. That's a given. But we'll give days in lieu of. So what I do is I work half my guys on the Friday, half the guys on the Monday. Regular shift.
Yep.
Half and half. So everyone, for the most part, and whoever's working the weekend will work the Friday.
Yep.
And whoever was off the weekend works the Monday.
Hmm.
So it's about the even trade-off that you can get into.
So everyone gets a 3-day weekend.
Not really, because the guy that's working the weekend gets the Monday off.
Yeah.
But the one, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't. How does everybody get a 3-day weekend? If everybody had a 3-day weekend, the world would be great.
Yeah.
But somebody's got to work the weekend, G. I'm not sure if you know how scheduling works, but
it's been a long time. Like, the company that we used to work for together, we had a 6-week rotation, I think.
I made that rotation. Yep.
Yeah. And it was pretty good. And I know just before I left, they ended up switching the schedule around. And so I can't remember what they switched it to. But it wasn't too bad. I think, to be honest with you, that was the best schedule I've ever had, because that was the only real schedule I've ever had. Because I went from the 6-week rotation to where you would have your 3 weekends off. So you worked every other weekend.
Yep.
On 2 out of your 3 weekends, you would get a 3-day long weekend.
Yep.
So you get the Friday off, which would definitely help for your burnout. You would also normally get a day or 2 days off throughout the week, which didn't really help to the paycheck, but it was nice to get a day off throughout the week so you could run to the bank and do things that you would normally, if you worked a 9 to 5, you would miss, right? Which was nice. It helped break up the week. I know some of the guys complained about, I think one of the weeks you would have to work a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in a row, which just kind of sucked for that 1 week. But at the other end of things, you didn't know how good you had it, because at the previous companies I've worked after that, company, it was 12 out of 14 days you worked.
Yeah, which I've heard a lot of companies running that kind of rotation.
Yeah, which is a big jump from having an actual schedule that was thought out and planned and said, okay, well, this is how we can minimize burnout. And it made a big difference. Now, granted, the call volumes could be different to where you might not need that schedule, and you might have to work your guys 12 out of 14 days just for them to bring in that same sort of income that you're getting with a full out schedule. Anyways, we're getting way off track of holiday surcharges.
Yes. Okay, so holiday surcharges. So do you believe, in your honest opinion, and we can get into details on situations or whatever it may be, do you believe that there should be a surcharge for any call that you do on a holiday, like Labor Day would be a Monday, for example?
It's a tough one, because I don't think it's not commonplace in the towing industry, at least around here. I don't really hear too many people talk about a holiday surcharge, because we are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It says it on our door. It's kind of expected for us to be open.
Agreed.
Now, if you are a plumbing service, let's say, and your hours state Monday to Friday and on call for emergency appointments only, you would then be expecting to pay a surcharge for an after hours or holiday thing. So I think it's more taboo for us to say, oh, well, you called us out on Christmas. What do you expect? We're going to tack an extra $25 surcharge onto it. I think on a general basis, people would probably understand that, because like, hey, I dragged you out of your house away from your family today. But in different situations like yours, where you have guys on hourly, you're paying them to be there regardless. You're paying them their time and a half or double time, whatever.
Yeah, on one like that, Christmas is a different story. I don't pay anybody during the day on Christmas, because it's like, you're not going to sit around. Like, no, it just doesn't make sense. But okay, I don't believe in the holiday surcharge
No.
because the exact same reason is that we are a 24-hour business,
Mhm.
right? It is a cost of the business that we do. It is planned into everything.
Mhm.
That being said, I would be willing to compromise on something along the lines of calls at home have a surcharge, right? Your vehicle at home going to the dealership on a holiday, only because you don't want to get up to make the call early on the Tuesday morning,
Mhm.
right? I think where you could go almost anything, but like anything that isn't a road, like, you know, certain roadsides would run a priority system, right? 1, 2, 3. Priority 1 was on the road. Priority 2 was at a business or somewhere with shelter, but not,
Yeah.
you know, like not their residence. And priority 3 was at a residence.
Mhm.
I think priority 3 calls with a surcharge would be a very reasonable and understanding to do, right? If Karen wants, if you're just out on, hey, come on, you're out on a day and you blow a tire in the middle of the road, right? Or you know, break down on the highway, like we're a big travel through area, right? With the 401. I don't
Mhm.
think there should be that surcharge for that. That's your normal
No.
operating business.
No.
I don't want to discourage business by adding a fuel surcharge, but at the same time, it feels like the one time where you could justify a stupidity tax.
Yep.
Right? And it's like, you're going to tow my car to the closed dealership at, like, hell, I want to throw that in at night. Right? Like, I'd
Mhm.
like to throw that in just on weekends, period.
You get there and say, "Oh, what's going on?" Well, the car's been broken for like a week, and
Yeah.
you're calling me on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been broken and sitting here for a week. I wish I could just throw a stupid tax on top of the bill at that point.
Now, don't get me wrong, right? People work different shifts, people have all
Mhm.
of that. So, like, we can't roll into this situation assuming they're a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 because we're not.
Yeah.
Right? So I understand that. But that's where I say, like, a holiday is the one time where, you know, there's what, 12 stats a year. You know, I count
Mhm.
Christmas and Boxing Day, and that is one.
Yeah.
But there's one a month.
Pretty much, I
So
think.
there's one day a month where I'm going to charge you this extra little bit if you decide
Mhm.
to call me at your house to
Mhm.
move it into your yard. I don't believe it just flies on every call. I don't believe in that. You know, prove me wrong.
That's
Prove
the
me wrong.
problem, though. If you can't justify it for every call, then someone could say you're picking favorites, or it's not. If you're going to do something, it's got to be across the board. If you're
It is
saying
possible.
for certain priority 3 calls at home, then it's got to be for all priority 3 calls at home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all
Yeah.
priority 3 calls at home on that holiday.
Okay.
Not the, no, it's all priority. Yeah. Sorry, that's if there was miscommunication there. I meant all priority 3. Again, if it's
Okay.
car like broken down on the road,
Yeah.
they were driving on the highway, no.
Yeah.
Right? But like, yes, I do believe to get the guys the downtime, have a little bit of, you know, a resemblance of a holiday, whatever that may be. Because normally it's time that families get together and everything else.
Mhm.
Already shitty to be stuck working the long weekend,
Mhm.
right? And now if you are working that holiday when everyone else is getting it off, the least we can try and do is, hey, this is what it is, you know, and you have to make it. This is gonna be a tough way to say this, but you need to make it enough. You don't want to make it enough to completely discourage your customer from using your service,
Yeah.
but you want to make it enough that if your operator does have to go out, it's going to be profitable for them. And a lot of times they are working on commission, possibly, right? Nights and
Mhm.
whatever. A lot of areas are
So,
working on commission.
how about I know we're talking about holiday surcharges.
Mhm.
What about, so like the company we used to work for together had something like that for Christmas, right? I don't want to
Well, no,
get
that
right
was
into
different
it.
pay structure,
Yeah, it was a different pay structure, so I'm not going to get into that
which is a stupid pay
entirely.
structure. But
It was nice. It was definitely nice for the driver.
it was
Stupid
terrible for my business.
business
Yeah.
decision for a company, um, which I could see that. But what if you gave your operators an extra 2 to 5% on these holiday days to try to make it a little bit more enticing for them to work it, instead of trying to have people fighting over having the time off?
I could see that,
Yeah,
right?
especially like not necessarily your company, but I know some companies probably have a hard time getting this holiday coverage because, well, you're expecting, okay, Christmas, it's either a 50-50, it could either be completely dead or it can be busy as hell. So if
the
you are going
problem
to
is
go out
is
on
that
Christmas,
this comes down to a common argument that why should I pay you more to do your goddamn job? Right? That's what that is. That it's
Yeah.
paying more to do your job,
Yeah.
right? So it is one of those tough things. Now, that being said, we charge an after hours fee
Hmm.
on calls. Like we started doing that months ago.
Yeah.
7 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Hmm.
Inside that, it comes to including taxes about an extra $10
Hmm.
for an
Okay.
after hours fee. It added a bit more to driver commissions because that's normally within your commission time.
Yep.
We didn't make it like 5 o'clock because let's be honest, people are traveling home at 5, 6 o'clock,
Mhm.
like 7 o'clock. I think we actually went till 8. We might have moved it back to 8 o'clock,
Mhm.
which is when my last shift for the most part, unless my night shift was on, ended.
Mhm.
Right. It wasn't enough to deter people.
Mhm.
It wasn't enough. And then if they said, oh, well, I got told last week and it was $10 cheaper. Yeah. Well, if you do during the day,
Mhm.
it is. But if I got to get my guy up, especially if I don't have a night shift, which I don't right now, because like a lot of places in the industry, we're shorthanded,
Mhm.
right? That little bit of after hours premium kind of helps a bit. Where I don't think like $10 is enough for a holiday premium.
No.
I think you'd want to make it 25 at least, minimum.
Yep.
Right? That
If
post.
you're going to do it, you might as well do it.
Yeah. The post you're referring to that we seen on Facebook was, I think it's 75.
Yeah. No, I'm
Right.
not sure what his base rate normally is.
Yeah. That feels steep.
Yeah.
That feels a little bit steep. But like I said, I think I could get on board on saying, applying it to those days on those priority 3 calls. I don't think I could say I'd apply it across the board on every holiday call.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, our job is still to respond to, cars that are broken down. And if they're
Yeah.
broken down on the side of the highway, I have a little bit of sympathy left in me, believe it or not.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of mine. That's could be your listener question of the week. You can contact us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Give us your opinion on it. Do you believe in a holiday surcharge? Obviously, the holiday has already passed at this point, but moving forward,
But we have more holidays coming up.
Wow,
Thanksgiving's coming up.
there's one every goddamn month. Crazy.
Then
So,
it's
do you believe
Christmas.
in a holiday surcharge?
Yeah.
How should it be applied and how much should be applied in your specific scenario? Email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast.
Or
You can
bleep bloop it down below in the comment section on YouTube.
Or like I always forget, leave it down below on YouTube. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the follow, hit the bell, hit all the buttons. Just hit them all. Just hit them all.
Well, no, you were talking about customer service earlier, and I saw something else on Facebook because that's how we come up with this show. We recycle ideas. And
Don't give Zuckerberg any appreciation for our show.
And I saw a post, and I can't remember if we talked about this on the show or not. We probably have. We're at 107 episodes. It's bound to happen. Do you allow people to sit in their car while you're changing their tire? I know the roadside will say they need to be out of their car and probably sitting in your tow truck with their seatbelt on. And I, to a certain extent, agree with that. Now, also during the summertime, I'm not sure about your company, but in my company, if I'm doing a tire change, anything that takes longer than a standard unlock, I turn the truck off because of fuel. With winter coming, probably won't be doing that.
Right.
So in the summertime, them sitting in their car running with the AC on would probably be more comfortable for them. Should I really care about their comfort level while I'm working on their tire with a risk of them shifting around in the car and knocking the car off the jack? That's safety, and that's something that you need to take into account.
How shitty is your jack and your jacking point if you're worried about it knocking off because they're rustling around? I mean, like if it's
Have you ever
Stanley
changed the
Stanley
tire on the
kid.
side of the road on a gravel slope?
Okay. So yes. Okay. This is where again scenarios play into it. Parking lot, I don't really care. They should be out of their car.
Yeah.
On the side of the highway, it is safer to keep them in their car with the seatbelt in than to move them to my truck.
Yeah.
Want to hear a fun story from the other day while we get on this
Sure.
topic? It is relevant. It is very relevant.
Mhm.
In Ontario, and I have looked through the laws on this, and to the best of my understanding and everything that I have found or haven't found, have you ever heard the saying it's illegal to have people in a towed vehicle?
Yeah.
right? Like you can't have people in a tow vehicle. Have you ever looked up the definition of towed?
No.
It's a vehicle being pulled behind another vehicle.
Okay.
It does not say anything about a vehicle up on another vehicle,
Hmm.
right? Like a tow truck, like a
Yeah.
flatbed.
Yeah.
I got a call the other day for a funny this flat tire on the highway, right? Left rear tire, and this gentleman decided to pull over on the left shoulder.
Oh.
Yeah, with not much of a shoulder.
Yeah.
And he was a great, very nice older man. But you could already tell as soon as I walked up and started talking to him, A, language was an issue, and B, mobility was an issue. So I looked to the cop, and we were very close to an exit, and I said, look, it's frowned upon, but it's not illegal to everything that I have found. I would like to remove the vehicle with him inside off the highway. And I, but I'm like, ultimately, it's your call. I'm not going to get a ticket with you right behind me. Like it's one of those I'm going to ask for permission rather than beg for forgiveness. The officer looked at me and I'm like, look, the mobility of him to get him out, to bring him around onto the passenger side of my truck, which would now be in the live lane because that's how little of a shoulder there is. And as I'm pulling up, two cars have already almost clobbered us. And she looked at me and she said, just get the job done, get him safely off the highway. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I told him, put your seatbelt on. He has grandson. His grandson was like 15, 16 with him. I'm like, you too. You're going to have a great story. And I winched it up and I strapped it down and I got them off the highway. And even when I got them off the highway, I then lowered it, winched it off, got him out, found out where he wanted to get towed, re-winched it on, put him up in the truck, and away we went. But the safest place for him at that time was in his vehicle with his seatbelt on. And I truly believe no matter where that is, it's your best bet to be in. Slope shoulders and everything else. If you're on like a county road with that steep of a shoulder and there's no room to get a jack underneath it,
move the car out a little further.
Yeah, like put your tow truck out a little bit, get them to pull it. Like there's ways around that. You're just putting yourself in a bad situation. So I would say, yes, they should always stay in the vehicle because then they're not going to do that stupid thing that customers like to do, where when they
walk out into traffic.
Well, yeah, it's amazing how fucking unaware they are of vehicles.
Yeah,
like I get it that this is something we deal with every day, and the general public doesn't. But they are absolutely like just oblivious.
I'm walking towards the car because I'm in front of them and I can see the traffic oncoming and they just want to stand there beside their driver's door and talk to me. I'm like, can you come this way for me, please?
Yeah. Let's move over here so you don't want to get hit. Like, so you don't get hit. No,
at least I can see what's coming. You can't.
Well, that's the thing. You ever been there down and you're changing a tire and you're trying to look over to see traffic coming at you, especially if it's a driver's side tire, and they're standing right there? And it's like, can you please move? And then they'll move
watching out for you. I would like to watch out for me.
Yeah, well, I've done that where I'm like, hey, do you mind? Like, I'm trying to, and they'll just back up into the lane, and I'm like, no, that's not the better approach.
That's the wrong way.
Like, you get
so instead of focusing at the task at hand of changing their tire and doing it as efficiently and quickly as you possibly can, now you're worried about them.
Yeah, so leave them in the car and keep them strapped up.
Yeah,
you leave them in the car, you keep them strapped up. If there was like, that'd be great. What we need is like when we walk up, pull the fuse so that they're like seatbelts lock. That like breaking, like pull the fuse that those seatbelts get stuck on and go, no, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna let me do my job. Give me the locking lug nut.
Yeah.
Right. And if it's for the love of God, it better not be a German car where I gotta put the wheel on with the stupid studs.
Oh, I hate those lug studs.
Especially in the dark. Like I have lights and stuff, but it's still not like you're just fuck. Like oh, the Germans did a lot of bad things in the world, but I'm gonna say the wheel nut setup they use is definitely up there on the list.
Especially if the customer is older. I normally just leave them sitting in the car because if they're not sitting in their car, the next safest spot is for them to be in my tow truck, which then would make me have to open up the door and help them get into the tow truck and get their belts on, and it's just a
human being.
Yeah, it's just it's extending the process of me having to be on the side of the road and them being on the side of the road.
Like I said, if you don't trust the car, because like, I mean, again, a kid, like kids wrestling in the back of a minivan, of a caravan that's all rotten out, but even then you're not grabbing it by the rockers, you're grabbing it by the suspension. Like there's no reason that a vehicle should come off a jack.
Yeah.
If you're not worried, put a jack stand on. Right? Like, how about instead of inconveniencing or messing with the customer or putting them in a dangerous situation, you just put up, some cribbing in there to protect you.
I always tell them if they're in the car is like, try not to move around too much, just to right,
I've
just to
done
be
that
on the
too.
safe
I had
side.
a lady like rigid, like didn't want to take her hands off the wheel. Like,
Wow.
she
No,
was
please
so
don't
afraid.
leave your hands on the wheel. Don't touch the steering wheel. Don't touch the brake. But going back to your story about getting the car off the highway safely,
Yeah.
I had a Suburban, and there was 6 younger females in the Suburban on the side of the highway, about a kilometer from the exit. At the best, I can fit 4 passengers in my truck. At best.
You can fit 6 with more people in seatbelts.
Yeah. So what I did is, since it was a 7 or 8 seater Suburban, I got the driver to move into one of the passenger seats and put their seatbelt on. I picked up the Suburban. I chained it down. I put dollies underneath the rear end because, have to do that. And I went nice and slowly down the shoulder, doing about 40 with the beacon lights on.
Illegal.
I know.
Somebody call the tow police.
And I got him off the highway, and I went directly into the carpool parking lot right there. I proceeded to drop the car, let them get out, wait for their Uber to show up, spun around, hooked it up from the rear because it was rear-wheel drive, and then I towed it the 200 kilometers to their tow destination that they wanted. Is it illegal? Yes. Did I want to wait for a cab on the side of the highway? No. Was that the only option to have as many seatbelts as needed for passengers? Yes. I made a judgment call in that time and place.
Yep.
I stand by my judgment call, but that's one of the things that you have to be able to not even necessarily defend yourself, but you need to be able to defend your decisions of what you did in that moment.
No, 100%. And again, we don't sit here and criticize and everything. And, you can sit here and say, oh, well, the letter of the everything says this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there's decisions you have to make on the
We
spot.
talked about last week gray areas, and that's the whole towing industry.
I'm really mad you didn't change the title of last week's episode on your end.
Coming out. It says it in the thumbnail.
It does, but my way was just much more blunt and vague at the same time.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, on YouTube, you got to have something that people might search for.
I'm sure people are searching coming out on YouTube. What do you want me to call it? How do I tell my dad? It was a funny title talking about getting vehicles to come out of tight places, like the boat and like the whatever else we talked about.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed you didn't jump on the bandwagon with me. We could have absolutely got in on the YouTube algorithm. Do you know what time of year it is and everything going on in the world? Man, that could go viral. It'd be great.
I doubt that. I highly doubt it. But
surprisingly, for a guy who wants to live on a convent and homeschool his kids and probably right own many, many weapons, some will be registered, some will not, who will fight to make sure that the liberal government doesn't take his guns away. You are
take what they don't know.
You are and you're on a watch list. You are very worried about offending people. I'm very surprised by that. Your nature is somewhat hickish. And I know we can have, I get that we're on the internet and you got to watch what you say on the internet.
Yeah.
But we can say dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
You can say dumb shit tastefully.
Yeah.
Right? You can definitely say dumb shit tastefully. Where you were I remember there's been multiple times where I brought up topics and you're yeah, we're not talking about that. I'm why not? And it is so against what my idea of Towman G is. He's gun toting, cousin kissing. You won't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Except when you put me with a microphone on the internet.
So that's the thing. That's the one thing that we all have to worry about on the internet is people can take anything out of context. They could show a 30-second clip where the previous minute and a half was the context leading up to that 30 seconds, right? And it doesn't matter if they spew out a bunch of garbage to run your name through the mud. Probably only 35% of people are actually going to try to go back and figure out the context and actually.
You think that high of a number?
Well,
I think like 5%.
It's like that.
Our
So in
listeners may be a
person,
little
yes,
more
I'll say some more offside things. And I will run the risk of offending people, because at least if I offend you face to face, you should have all the context. And I'll be able to defend myself right then and there if you are offended and you say something to me about it.
I'm more worried that I've said enough dumb shit that I never remember. Like, we had somebody, like my wife, we've literally sat here and done an episode. And then she'd be like, what'd you talk about? I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. I just come on and I just talk and I just say things. And, you know, everything. Normally, for the most part, and that'll get me in trouble. Like, most of what I say is what I mean. Right? I've never hidden that from the show. But, like, it was just funny because even as we have these little conversations, it's something I wanted to bring up with you and just go, like, what is it that we're afraid of? Like, what are you afraid of? That Toman G is going to get banned from YouTube? Like,
No.
I love you as my co-host, but like that wouldn't end our show because Toman G get banned for saying like the R word. You know what I mean? Like, or calling something stupid or giving his opinion on the LGBTQ alphabet. He's going to try and cut so much of this out by the episode, guys. Break it to.
I'm not really afraid of anything like that. My thing is, so we don't even have currently 400 subscribers on YouTube, which is what it is.
Yeah,
right?
whatever.
We are trying to grow this show, and obviously podcasts are more audio. The video on YouTube is more afterthoughts or weird people like me that gets all their podcasts on YouTube. It's accessible to that channel, right?
Which is a portion of our followers.
Yep.
I don't want to alienate any group of followers.
No, I don't. No. We've got some pretty good standard followers that come back listening week after week on YouTube. However, it will come to a point to where we can be monetized on YouTube. I hope it's not going to be fucking tomorrow by any means. We're nowhere close to the actual like threshold to that. But if we just say whatever the hell we want up until we hit that threshold, we're going to be in some pretty bad habits to try to be ad friendly. I want to say I hate ads myself personally, and I hate throwing ads down people's throats. So we don't really try to run ads ourselves on products that we wouldn't use or at least think of using.
Right? This episode of the Towing Life podcast is sponsored by.
Yeah, segue to an ad here. But no. So for me, even when I did my own YouTube channel, I had to keep things in the back of my mind. Okay, well, what if we can actually start making an income off this platform at one point? Because like the audio side, we have to pay money to get that product out to you guys on a monthly basis. YouTube is free to use, right? So it doesn't cost us anything to put it on there other than time to upload. And YouTube, I think, is the only real platform that will just pay us if we meet a threshold. So if I can keep that avenue of like the potential avenue for revenue to come in to help support this show down the road open, that's my goal.
Which, like, I get. So, okay, that's very reasonable. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's not like, I'm not saying, hey, like, let's be honest. The people, it's the Towing Life podcast we're here for. We're not here to hear our political views and our everything else. Like, I'm not trying to get into a InfoWars, type of conversation with you on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. But I just mean at the same time, say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of I don't give a shit about monetizing. Mm-hmm. Which is funny because as, involvement in the business and everything that we've done. But at the same time, I will gladly put the whole reason we put this show together was to be able to say whatever the hell we wanted. The whole reason that we don't run our actual, there's your protection, right? Because, we're contracted to different places. We've talked about it before, whether it be police towing, whether it be roadsides, whether it be all this stuff. We've worked with a lot of them. So I'm not going to come out and say, roadsides are stupid. They are. Yeah. In many, many cases, right? Like, I get where there's got to be certain protections. But, like, you have, like, shut me down on straight up jokes that you won't even entertain because you know they are gearing to the line of offensive.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking, can Mr. Toman G today, while we are not monetized on YouTube, pledge to no longer and instead embrace the joke and have fun, as long as it is not sexist, racist, belittling to any people, or any of the 17 million things we're not allowed to joke about on the internet anymore.
So that takes away most of the jokes that you've tried to entertain.
I think there's a fine line you can walk.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a fine line.
You just got to make sure it is more funny than it is cruel.
Is that that's
the law of comedy. You can make fun of anything as long as it's funnier than it is tragic.
So I have a question. If we were to still remain the Towing Life podcast, but we would label it as a comedy towing podcast, could we then say whatever we want because we'd be comedians and it would be art?
Well, unfortunately, any sort of media that you do is kind of technically art, which I hate. Like, I don't think of myself as an artist. I barely call myself a content creator.
So do I, don't worry.
Like, I know we are making content, and anyone who's listening, who's still currently listening after we've been rambling about the actual inner workings of this show for the last 10 minutes, thank you. But it is content. People do listen to this. Thank you once again. So we are technically content creators, right? If you label it as a comedy towing life podcast, then there are some rules of comedy that you kind of got to follow. And we're not comedians by any sense, right? We're not.
No.
We have funny one-liners every once in a while, and we will hopefully get a chuckle out of you, but we're not comedians.
Well, I'm working on it. I'm gonna start stand-up soon. Speaking of YouTube, there's a video that I heard about, and I wish I could play it on this. I mean, in all theory, we should be able to play it on this. I just don't know if our listeners would want to. I want to show it to you after. It is YouTube. People have found the loophole to YouTube. Because as long as something is like educational, a documentary. Why can I not say that right?
Okay.
Anyways, or art, it is allowed. Like, there is a video of a guy shaving his butthole on YouTube that is allowed. I only found this through Comedy Podcast, for the record. YouTube algorithm is not that messed up.
No, you probably went on searching. How does one shave their butthole?
No. I am going on vacation soon, but that is not what it was for. I swear to God, this research was valid. Okay. I just happened to actually pull it up to see if it was available in Canada, so my algorithm is now screwed. So I'm just saying that there is definitely fun that can be had here as long as we keep it educational or art.
But if it's educational, then we also have to cite sources.
I don't think this guy cited a source when he nared his butthole. Like, what source do you, other than you? Here's the source. Look how smooth it is.
Well, it could be hearsay, because if you do it with our sponsor, Manscaped, it'd be 20 times better.
Well, no, it was with Nair. It was like a whole nairing your butthole thing. I'm telling you, it's the stuff that has been like, they've found the cheat code for YouTube to allow, and like, I haven't seen the video. I've not seen the video. I've only heard the video because, unlike our great listeners that listen to podcasts on YouTube, I do not. I listen to it on audio, on actually not even Spotify, on Apple Podcast, which is where we're also available. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, anywhere you get your podcasts. And what I understand, like, everything is shown and it's allowed on YouTube, and like, they seen it on YouTube and they're like, hurry up and download that so that we can play it on our show before it gets taken down. Well, it has not been taken down, and it's at 42 million views.
Wow.
So all I'm saying is, if you guys find me on YouTube with a bottle of Nair, mind your own goddamn business. The Towing Life podcast, as G said, is not monetized on YouTube, and I got to find other revenue streams to offset the show.
With the amount that you work, if you need a second or third income, you don't make enough money.
Oh man, that's the thing. I think it's fun. Like, I think it's important that we, like I said, we talk about the, the towing topics that are out there, and it's definitely things we need to address in the industry. But if you cannot have fun at the same time and get into just conversation, I hate having ideas pre-lined up on the show. I love it and I hate it because like so many times, like we just get into natural, like organic conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So no. I gotta go buy. I think I can buy Nair on Amazon. It's 42 million downloads,
Views
or views, whatever, same thing.
Views.
I don't want to tell
YouTube is
you all
views.
the other things that I'm finding as I looked up Nair. Actually, I don't want.
Go in incognito before you search anything.
I
else.
don't do anything incognito.
You could use our other sponsor, NordVPN. We are not.
You don't believe me
sponsored by
that you
anyone
can
in
show your
this
butthole on YouTube? Go to YouTube and or look up Nair your butthole. I'm not going to watch the video. You can tell me your thoughts on it. I've heard it. I've heard it described. Oh my God.
You got to come up to him at the tow show with your phone and just start playing the video and shove it in his face. It's like, here you go. Now you can say you've seen the video.
Oh man. Someone's going to come up to me at the tow show and be like, I tried it. It works. Good for you. Good for you.
Well, with all the 42 million people that have watched it, I'm sure some people have tried it. So there's guinea pigs out there. If you check out the comments, I'm sure you'll find that it either works or it doesn't.
I think that's enough internet for me today.
Enough internet.
That's enough internet for me. So don't forget, we will be at the PTAO 25th anniversary tow show coming up this weekend at time of release, September 15th and 16th in Kitchener at Bingham's. We are stoked. I have been spending hours. I got a big tote here next to me that still isn't packed full of all of our gear and everything to be able to record at the show.
I guess I can take this banner down though.
It has to come. Yeah, well, you can. Yeah, that's right. Because any other, well, you can't because we'll be recording shows that'll happen after the tow show.
Shh.
Okay, shh. The magic of internet. So be sure to head over there if you're in the Ontario area and if you make it out. Get yourself an exclusive tow show t-shirt, Towing Life Podcast. Head over to our website, www.towinglife.ca/recovery. Get your recovery of the month in. Contest closes September 30th. Hurry up. You don't have much time. On behalf of myself and the man with very smooth butthole next to me, Mr. Towman G, thanks for coming out. We can't wait to see you again next week. Take care.
Toodles. No party in this can confirm or deny if they have a smooth butthole.
And that's where you're going to wrap the episode.
Yep.
Dude, it's actually a thing. I mean, that went off the rails quick.